Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve. And did you ever imagine that you would see Matt Gaetz and AOC uniting together in legislation? Well, that's exactly what's happening. And you and I can actually benefit from all that's going on. This is going to absolutely blow you away. I am once again joined by my good friend Ross Givens. Ross recently gave us all an unbelievably amazing masterclass insight into the trading habits of DC's most notorious inside traders like Nancy Pelosi. He's helped thousands of patriots reap the benefits that can come from knowing and following these trade secrets, but in a perfectly legal and ethical manner. That's what makes them wonderful. Ross, welcome back. And for those who missed our last chat, which was, by the way, huge, amazing turnout for your free training that you had there.
Yeah.
Could you catch them up to speed on just what really is going on between corporations and Congress? What give us the gist of what is so-called insider trading?
Yeah, so the idea insider trading is, if you want the technical definition, it's when you buy a stock based on material, non-public information. So, you buy a pharmaceutical stock before the drug gets approved, or, buy a company before they report really good earnings. When that news goes public, the stock skyrockets. You can make a lot of money if you know things before the general public. And that's what kind of Congress has a lot of access to. So, that's insider trading, essentially. And after COVID, I think a lot of people kind of woke up to these politicians being some of the most blatant offenders of this. So when COVID happened back in, I guess when it started, I should say, January, February of 2020, that month, everything kind of hit the fan. The stock market crashed. It fell 30% in a month. So what had happened, Congress was, of course, briefed on the COVID-19 virus before the general public. They knew how bad it's going to be. They knew the stock market would crash, and they did these lockdowns and things. Well, come to find out, several senators had sold all their stocks right before the big crash. We had the American people here, our patriots, stuck left holding the bag. And that made a lot of people mad, as it should have. So, now I think the sort of we the people movement is going, that's not really fair. You're elected to speak for us, not take advantage of us. And so it's just become a very popular theme right now. I think there's a lot of public support, or I should say public distrust of what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to see it creating some very interesting political bedfellows as well. Gang, the neat part is Ross is actually doing a free training on how anyone could trade like Pelosi, but again, legally and ethically. It's this Friday, May 12th. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but our audience, you get it completely free. You're going to absolutely love it. I couldn't recommend it more. I've been able to sit through it, and the insights are going to blow your mind. But the big news on this front recently is Matt Gaetz and AOC joining forces to pass bipartisan legislation banning the owning and trading of stocks for members of Congress. So this is obviously this is big for political reasons. It's showing that there is a bipartisan populist sentiment. There's an anti-establishment sentiment that's uniting the populist left and the populist right, where they're converging more and more on economic issues, corruption issues, people versus permanent political class, and the like. But it also has big implications for traders and for those focused on the economy. So Ross, do you think this? Obviously, do you think this bipartisan legislation has any chance? I can't imagine Congress voting to pass this thing. I mean, the gravy train is too lucrative, isn't it?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. The only thing I think working in our favor is that Pelosi is finally, after 20 years, retiring as House Speaker. So with that, I think it actually has a shot of passing. In previous attempts at something like this, she's pulled all of her tricks to be sure it doesn't pass. She pushes the vote to the midnight hour, or she gets her name on the bill. She can put a lot of stuff people won't vote on. But like you said, Gaetz and AOC is the big story here. As far as I know, they've never worked together on anything.
Nothing.
They never had lunch together, if I had to guess. I mean, you've got Gaetz, probably one of the furthest right members of Congress. I mean, full-on Republican. He's basically Trump 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Then you've got AOC, the super far-left socialist, who would love nothing more than to empty your and my bank accounts, Dr. Steve, and redistribute our money to people who don't want to work. So the fact that they can agree on anything
Yeah.
tells you how big of a problem this has become.
Yes.
And again, I think without Pelosi there pulling her usual stunts, it really could pass. In fact, it might. We're coming up on that election season. I don't think a lot of these politicians want to go on the campaign trail and explain why they refuse to support a congressional trading ban.
Yeah. Do you think that is this a people versus permanent political class? So in other words, putting people ironically, like Gaetz and AOC, who see themselves more as anti-establishment, are they less prone to this? Is insider trading? Is it the particular attribute of establishment politicians?
Well, I would say the most corrupt are probably, yes, those establishment politicians. You're definitely right about that. But a lot of them have given into temptation and put their hand in the cookie jar. The New
Right.
York Times put out a report last year. They found that at least 97 members of Congress bought or sold stocks in companies that were affected by the decisions and legislations they make. And I'm not talking about like coincidental overlaps. Oh, we're kind of making a story out of nothing. There are some blatant conflicts of interest. Like Sydney Axie, for example, she and her husband were trading Wells Fargo stock while she's on the Financial Services Committee in charge of investigating Wells Fargo over the fake account scandal. Blumenauer was buying defense company stocks the day Russia invaded Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know Russia was going to invade it. Did you know in advance? I don't think Zelensky got a heads up, but these career swamp rats like Pelosi, yes, you're right. They are by far the most corrupt. And I got to give you just a couple of highlights of Pelosi to show you how insanely ridiculous this is.
Because she really is the poster lady for this.
Oh,
we know they're all doing it, but she seems to turn this into an insidious art form.
Oh, she is the patron saint of insider trading, Dr. Steve. So early 2021, she buys more than $5 million in Microsoft stock, all right? 2 weeks before the Army announced a $22 billion contract with Microsoft. The same year, she and her husband buy $1 million in Tesla stock. 3 weeks later, Biden signs his executive order making the entire federal fleet nationwide go electric. Last year, she buys $5 million of call options on NVIDIA. And if you're not familiar with those, they're basically just a very high risk, very leveraged bet on the stock. 2 weeks later, the federal government announced the CHIPS Act, which, as you know, included all these subsidies and tax credits to the semiconductors, $52 billion worth of them. And she's loaded up this giant lever. I mean, she should be in jail, right? But
right.
Again, it just continues to happen. And so I think that's why people are so angry about this. We might actually have a shot at a ban here.
With the Gaetz AOC bill, do you think just the pressure itself is enough to inhibit this kind of behavior, or are they going to get spooked over this? Or do we have to actually pass something?
Man, I think you've got to pass it. I mean, if you think about it, look, even if they get caught doing this stuff, I give you some blatant trades from Pelosi, and there's a dozen more I could rattle off. Even if they do get caught, they know how the media works. It's out of the news cycle in 5 days, 6 days. Pelosi's been doing this for 20 years. She's built a $170 million nest egg.
Yeah.
And she gets elected every single time. So I'm sad to say, I think that the only way to stop this is that complete trading ban to really put an end to it once and for all.
It's so interesting you say that, because for those of us in the news, in the media world, when you see charts of a story and how it breaks and it just explodes, it hits, from an economic perspective, it hits a sales cliff. After about 24, 48, 72 hours, it's going up and up and up, and then it just implodes. It's gone. So you're absolutely right on that. The media just throws it away, finds something else, some other unicorn, as it were, and then just drops it and then goes to the next one. So they know that they've seen the charts. They're well aware that the bad whatever bad press they get will be gone by the end of the week. Guaranteed.
Well, you've put explosive stuff on your own channel. I watch them like, I can't believe this goes on. And then a week later,
it's gone. Yeah, it's the hardest thing to try to find something that really has some legs, no question. All right, so you're giving we've had thus far, if I recall, 2 trainings that you've done with our audience, free training. that you've done that were huge. I mean, everybody who's a regular on this channel knows we love to highlight some major patriots in the front lines of the emerging parallel economy. You're definitely one of them. This was a huge training. I mean, we had thousands of Turley talkers come out to this thing. And we have another one on Friday, May 12th, and that is at noon Eastern, I believe. Did I get that correct?
Yep. It is online, by the way, so anybody can attend.
Anybody can attend online Friday, May 12th, free training. Give us a bit of a preview of that. Tell us more about you have a fascinating investment strategy. It's sort of, if you can't beat them, join them kind of strategy, right?
Right.
Explain to us how that's fared in light of all of this corruption we've discussed, but also how it's perfectly ethical and legal from our vantage point.
Yeah, and that is important to point out. We're not doing anything, below board here. At the end of the day, I mean, human nature never changes, right? People in positions of power or with valuable information are always going to use that to enrich themselves in some way. If there was a stock market in ancient Rome, I'm sure Julius Caesar would have been buying grain futures before he invaded Gaul. Right. So I've always just said, look, this is going to happen. It's human nature. So I've taken that approach. Like you said, if you can't beat them, join them, and keeping it completely legal. Now, DC insiders, these politicians we're talking about, they're good investors. A lot of them are outperforming. There's the occasional Pelosi who's just great. But corporate insiders, they are great investors. And it's their performance puts these numbers from Congress to shame. We're talking about 500, 1,000% gains there.
So when what are you talking? Clarify what you mean by corporate insiders.
Sure. So corporate insiders are just those top executives at a publicly traded company. So the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, people on the board of directors. These people can freely trade their own company stock with their own money, even though they have access to all sorts of inside information about that company. Congress, yes, they know when there's a COVID outbreak, you're going to shut down the economy, but those instances are rare. And even with a black swan like that, they avoided maybe a 30% dip. Think about what corporate insiders know at individual companies. They know when they're going to report really good earnings numbers. They know how well sales are doing. They know when they're going to launch a new product, a new service. They know when they're going to get bought out at a higher price. So even with all that information, they are free to buy their own company stock in their own account with essentially zero risk of being prosecuted for insider trading. And we go into this in detail during the training session, as you know. We can't go through it the whole thing right here today, but these executives just have incredible track records. I mean, they regularly buy their stocks before they go 100, 200, 500%.
And that's the key. They're telegraphing, aren't they?
They're telegraphing, right? Yeah. Because when they buy their stock, the only thing is there's this loophole. They have to report those trades within 48 hours. And if you know where to find this database, it is free for all of us to access. It's real time. You can see when the CEO and 5 board members and the vice president are all coming in 6 and 7 figures a piece in their own accounts completely out of nowhere. It's like they might know something, and that's what we do. We simply follow those trades. They tip us off. And we've been doing this for our members since 2017. I've got a team of analysts I've trained here now. We've had a lot of success. We bought stocks that have risen as much as 1,920% just following these trades. And you mentioned the training. Everyone who registered for last training we did, we gave them some of our research, a free pick, fully vetted, fully researched. Here's the stock. Here's what we're seeing. It's been a month. That stock's already up 25%.
Wow.
When we register for the next one, we got our newest pick is fully researched, written up, and we're going to give that out for free again to all of your viewers who register for the event as well.
Dang. Oh, I love it. I just love it. I think that's so cool. And this is a database. It's from the SEC, if I recall.
Correct. Yeah, Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yep. Yeah, amazing. So it's there. It's just making sure you get the information, know how to utilize it. And trade like the pros, as it were, as a trade like Pelosi, but doing it through corporate insiders as opposed to political
and there are things
insiders.
You want to look for, right? I mean, the information is there. You've got to kind of compile it and organize it. But we teach people, hey, these are the things that usually signal they might know something really good. These are the kind of things you want to watch for. These are the things you don't. Here are the kind of trades we look for. And it's not hard to do. Usually the good ones stand out like a sore thumb.
Right.
We buy the stock, you sit on it for a few months. And like I said, we've had not every trade's going straight up, but we've had some really, really big winners. And I think the premise just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. And and again, some of these returns just are proof. The proof is in the pudding, and there it is. Gang, this is huge. We have so many Turley talkers working with Ross right now at building a parallel economy in their own lives and in their communities. And you could be one of them, right? Remember, being a patriot is not a sideline activity. You got to get into the sport, as it were. Ross and I were talking about it. We don't just boycott, we build. And we need to be building a civilization, not just complaining about the way so many in power are ruining it. So don't miss out on this. Click on the link below. This is an amazing opportunity. Learn more about how you can get trading like Pelosi, but again, in a thoroughly ethical manner. Again, Ross is putting on a massive free Q&A this Friday, May 12th, 12 o'clock noon Eastern, where Ross is going to reveal all the knowledge you need to capitalize on these big market moves by following the corrupt technocrats themselves. Now, you need to do this now, because the last time we did this, we had several hundred people complain they couldn't get in. Seating is limited, okay? We actually had to do, if I recall, Ross, we did two in a row. Yeah.
We try to open it up. It's just a bandwidth issue. We're not YouTube. We can't take 100,000 viewers. And so the software we use caps at, I think, 1,000 or 2,000 attendees.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know that Zoom has caps. So you got to watch that. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have unlimited bandwidth. So people did get shut out. The ARC door closed on them. So make sure you don't wait. Click on that link below right now and sign up for Ross's event. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Again, we're talking thousands of people who sign up for this. Ross is amazing. So don't wait. It's this Friday, May 12th. Click on that link below right now and sign up. Ross, my friend, we'll see you on Friday. It's exciting. You bet,
Always good talking to you.
Good talking with you. God bless.